Welcome to Leading, a Cornerstone podcast that helps us pursue our mission of loving God, equipping believers, answering God's call, and declaring the good news. Thanks for joining us today. Here are your hosts.
Hey, welcome back, Cornerstone family. It's good to be back with you.
Yeah, finally.
Finally.
Oh, hey, thanks, Henry.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're back.
No, it was, and we thank you to the Richard
Yeah.
Hickson, Richard Bannister for stepping in and having some really just great conversation. I loved watching the podcast while I was away, but yeah, again, thank you, Richard. Thank you for the listeners and viewers on the show, and
thank you for remembering that you're a part of this and
no,
that you've come
absolutely.
back. You know?
I'm excited to be back. I am excited to be back for Matthew 27, verses 27 to 56, and this is, for me, this is like the core of why I believe what I believe. The accounting of what goes on, the description, the trial, even in the previous sermon last week, of just condemning an innocent man, a righteous man, and just everything about it, like leading up to what we're going to talk about today. This is what we believe, because next week when we get into the resurrection, like this, Dan talked about like it had to be this way. What goes on, God's will and the wrath and everything. So we'll get into it, but Mike, like really to start off, I wanted to kind of get into like what I was alluding to is the why. Like, have you ever thought about like why this had to play out the way it did? Like, why? If God is holy and powerful and sovereign, like, then why did he have to send Jesus to suffer for us?
Yeah, that's a really good like wrestle with question, right?
Yeah.
Or like when you try to get to the deepness of understanding something so profound.
Yeah.
Right? Like my brain trying to get to those levels is like, hey, I've maxed out.
Right.
But when you think about it, the Bible and Jesus' story, it's telling us a love story.
Yeah.
Right? When we really think about it, and we think about what has to take place is we have to be able to see that this isn't something that a normal man could do. Mm-hmm. This is a level beyond of any of our abilities. And I think when you look at this, right, because like when you walk back through this end stage of Jesus's earthly time here, and you think of the mock trial, you think of him, being scourged, right? When, Dan this last weekend gave a great breakdown to like the weaponry that was used, right? When you hear
the
that
whip with the bones or the shards on it.
Yeah, and you just
it's meant to cut.
Yeah,
right?
the excruciating pain, the mockery, the spitting on, the when you're putting the robe on and the crown of thorns.
Yeah.
All of these things, me and my flesh.
Yeah.
If I had had any kind of ability that Jesus had, I'm shutting it down.
Yeah.
Right. I'm changing enough of this. I am not going to be put in this position, and that is exactly why you see, because me and my sinful nature, I don't want that pain. I don't want to be mocked like that. I want respect.
Yeah.
And Jesus, in his love for us, says, I'll walk it out.
Sure.
I'll walk it out for these people who don't have any idea what I'm doing. And then we get to see the story laid out and see how much more amazing it is, because Jesus was doing this while being hated by the people he loved.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at any moment, he could have just called upon the angels.
Yeah. Bam!
And, got out of it, but he was obedient to the, he was obedient to the cross, right?
Yeah.
And how we're let's face it, I'm drawn. I'm sure a lot of other people are drawn to these supernatural events, right? I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Hacksaw Ridge, but
I have not. No.
Oh, I get choked up every time I see that movie. But it's about a what do they call it? Conscientious whatever the term is for like someone who doesn't carry a gun even though he goes to war. So he was a medic, and he just did this like just supernatural stuff in the movie. So check it out. But he was a man of faith. Like these are like supernatural things. We hear about it in stories. We are drawn to it when somebody like just overcomes the odds and the survivability or does something amazing. I think Dan used someone jumping on a grenade to save his friends, and all the love that goes into it. Everything about what Jesus does here at the cross is supernatural, and I think naturally we're just drawn to these things, because I think we strive to understand what motivates them to do something that loving and that sacrificial. And I think we are definitely creatures of comfort, right? Like, yeah, I don't want to be hurt or physically. I get ill and I'm like, forget it. I can't do anything.
We've got the man cold.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, I sneezed. I'm gonna just lay in bed, right? Like going that extra mile, right? We've just gone through almost all of Matthew. Where he's talking about how to have these attitudes and going the extra mile, sacrificially loving. And Jesus does it here to the point where he's mocked, he suffers, he's beaten, he's humiliated.
He's crucified. And we talked, Dan talked about this in the sermon, like that is the worst form of being executed, right? Because certain executions, you're displayed and it happens. This is like a drawn out display to the all the way from the praetorium where the soldiers are mocking him and beating him. Then he's marched to Calvary at Golgotha. That whole display, and they're shouting and chanting. There's a sign of what he did, and the sign was the claim was that he was the King of Jews. That was his offense. He was the King of the Jews. Yeah. Not only with all of the pain that takes place here, is the high level of humiliation that is put into this position, right? Stripped of clothes, right? Whipped and spit on and pushed and mocked all the way. A full day of it.
Yeah.
Right? And then to be nailed upon a cross and hung out for others to walk by you and to mock you. It's just, I don't think we can really comprehend what that experience really was like.
And that was just the opinion of man, right? Like if you've done something, you're guilty, and people are like shaming you and shunning you, like no one likes that. Like no one likes to know that they're at fault or did something bad and everybody disapproves of you. That's just the man part, right? And like the worldly part of, and he knew, and he still loved them. He's still willing to endure this for all those that disapproved and rejected him. The other part was that he was separated from God the Father, who he had close connection with the entire time he was on earth.
Yeah.
Like that part gives me chills, because like to be separated from God, we were taught that is basically that is basically hell for us, right? That is the distance, because what Jesus did is he removed that gap from our relationship to be able to draw close to God. And so it's through the cross that we're able to come to God and be forgiven and reconciled. Otherwise, we would be in our sins, in our trespasses still.
Yeah, and I think you talk about that separation, and I love that you did that, because I was right there in my head right before. I'm like, oh man, we got to get to the separation from God, because the darkness that he hadn't felt before, right? The void is there. Not only is he separated from God, and then you add in the fact that his disciples have all taken off, right?
Yeah.
All the men he had just spent the last 3 years with.
Yeah.
So you add these layers of separation. Of course, the separation to God, much worse. But you put those into the list of things, right? He's mocked, he's beaten, he's in terrible physical shape. He's stressed out because God is not there with him. He's separated from him. All of those who were loyal to him have all but scattered.
Yeah.
And he's the most vulnerable to sin, right? The temptation of what he could have done.
Right.
And yet, he sees it through.
He at any time could have hit the easy button.
Exactly.
Right? Anytime.
It's I have chills right now, because you're like, I would have.
Yeah.
right? And we need to respect, like,
and here I am, like, I'm in a workout and I feel a little bit soreness and I'm like, I'm good. I'm done.
I'm good on this one. Throw the towel on the shoulder, head out.
Yeah, I was reading a commentary on, I don't know the medical side of the physiology of what the body has to endure on the cross, but I was reading some of it. And that's not a workout, man. It's brutal, right? Yeah. Everything about it is meant to prevent the body from thriving, right? From the nails in the hands to the scourging of the back, where you can't lean up against it because that hurts, and then of course it crusts over. But then the fact that it's
the breathing problem.
The breathing problem, because you actually have to put more pressure on your wounds in order to get an inhalation. But then it also, the fact that you can't lean up because your back's also ripped up,
and you also have to lean up with your legs because you're nailed into it. The only way you're breathing better would be if you pressed up from your legs that are pressed
that were also nailed to the wood. So everything about it is you have to endure pain somewhere else in order to alleviate pain in another way. But then you have to endure the most pain just to draw a breath. And I'm like, that is brutal.
Yeah.
That is brutal.
We can read it, but we can't really walk that out. And the Romans had really figured out how to maximize the brutality of that experience, in every way, from the physical to the mental to all of the humiliation that went with it.
Yeah.
It is just really a horrific way to die.
Yeah, and back to the humiliation, and again in that commentary I was reading that it was so brutal and excruciating, and I think the word excruciating comes from crucifixion. It was only reserved for the non-Roman citizens and slaves, because they couldn't. They respected the status of a Roman citizen so much so that they would never sentence a citizen of Rome to that type of death. And I'm like, wow, that's terrible.
Yeah. And then you get to the hour where Jesus, gives up his spirit.
Yeah.
Right? And then you talked about some of those supernatural experiences that happen there. And I think we've got to honor that space too, and really think about the Roman soldier. I think when I read that story again, I've read the crucifixion a number of times, but then think really what the Roman soldier must have seen. We cannot read this and just go, okay, we're living in California here, right?
Yeah.
Earthquake, got it. Yeah, no big deal, right?
Yeah,
Rock shook.
Everything about it was upside down and out of the ordinary, right? The darkness at midday.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, to think that the Roman soldier who had spent the day mocking, beating, laughing at Jesus, right? For him to say, truly, he was the Son of God.
Yeah.
What must that have looked like, right? That had to have been some, I really wonder, what did it all play, how did it all really play out? Because you read Supernatural and you read these things, but I think, man, it must have been just a really transformative, wild experience when that actually took place.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that still happens today to an extent, right? I mean, you hear about people who are so cold and distant and closed off to the gospel, and then they do a 180, and you're just like, I didn't see that coming. But praise be to God, because that's Him working in their hearts, and I think we could pray for that more. I mean, we pray for that more. Pray for our family members, our friends. I think it was Spurgeon was talking about in one of the commentaries of his sermons about what does it look like, or how could you love something that did this, right? Did this, would you love a knife that killed a friend or family member, right? Would you love the plans or the people behind, the thing that did the awful thing, right? In the death. And so, if it would be so counterintuitive counterintuitive and counter-normal to love the weapon that took away the life, then how could we love the sin that killed Jesus on the cross? Right? And so I didn't do it justice in explaining it, but like he was just juxtaposing the fact that like in our ordinary life, like we usually hate the thing that does harm to the thing we love. And so if sin is what put him there, sin's what killed Jesus, then we should likewise hate the thing that killed the thing we loved.
Yeah, and I think that is some of the battle I think we need to wrestle with more is like when we're facing our own temptation, like are we remembering what Jesus did on the cross for us and the cost that came with it?
Right.
Right? Because we're all tempted, but what is our thought process in that time and in that stretch, and how often are we remembering like the cost?
Right.
Right? Instead of just looking at the end outcome, which is beautiful.
Yep.
Right? The resurrection is absolutely beautiful. It's amazing. It's everything.
Yeah.
But for our own walks in today and how we're doing things, we have to spend time remembering the cost to see this scene play out and put the weight to it. Don't just read the words and walk it out and go, yep, scourged, yep, mocked, laughed, spit on, hung on a cross. Yeah, that probably wasn't fun.
Yeah.
But no, like actually genuinely look at this and understand the brutality of the end of what finished on the cross.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that means something to us daily. Right? We don't have to necessarily bury ourselves in it, right, and depress ourselves, but to find the encouragement of like being thankful of what he did and what we would never be able to do.
Yeah. Remind ourselves, don't gloss over the difficulty and the heroism of what happened in this moment in Matthew 27, but reminded that because of that, it was paid. And he says, it is finished. So we don't have to go and live back to our old self, right? We're the new creation because of what Christ did on the cross. And we can live into that life and be the love that he's shown and taught us to be.
I think that's a great way to find a heart of gratitude.
Yeah.
Right? When we're talking this out, I can't help but be like, man, Lord, thank you. Yeah. Right? Because that kind of love is something I can't fathom. Yeah. And that I can't walk out, and because of it, it makes me just joyous that like he values us that much. Yeah. Like it's unbelievable. Yep. And I think that one of the other parts of this part of Matthew and the gospel that I think for those who are like cynics and those who are questioning of, is the Bible accurate? Is it inerrant? This is another moment that kind of doesn't get talked about enough, but it's the ladies that are there. Yeah. Right? In a time and culture where women and children were seen as so much less than and treated that way, if the Bible really wanted to make this a true hero story, it would have like rolled the disciples back, right? And like some kind of roll-in army counter, or they would have highlighted some men that were there and honorable. But no, what does the Bible do? It points to the women who stayed, who were faithful. Yeah. Right? They were
first at the tomb.
Behind the scenes faithfulness. Yeah. And I think that, to me, that gives me greater confidence that it spoke truth. Yeah. The truth, because it didn't have to. And if it wanted to make this a more glorified story, quote unquote, it would have added men at the time, because other men of the culture would have been like, that's right, that's right. You read the women and you're like, wow, like Jesus is like so methodical and providing the context of, the men all fled and the women stayed, and it just points to the fact that, as Matthew has been doing this whole time, it's the reach for the heart of others. Yep. And for us, I feel like when we look at this now, like the thing that I am like wrestling with is like, how can we practice that same like steady behind the scenes faithfulness today.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I mean, bring it forward to present day. I think that's still going on with our women. You know, I look at the women in our church. Ladies, thank you for your faithfulness that reflects the faithfulness of the three Marys that are talked about in this chapter. Their faithfulness. Have you seen the women's ministry?
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness, with, you know, Grace as the minister and all the team members that are leading the various women's ministry in our church. Like, it's amazing. Their faithfulness is just such a beautiful sight in what God's doing with them in their hearts and how they're ministering to other women in the church. And I feel like we observe that, and we should be encouraged in other ministries. My own wife has been a great joy, pun intended. And encourages me, right? And because her faithfulness is just so beautiful.
Yeah, and it's amazing to see her lead out with Coffee Break, which just happened, kicked off again recently. So, ladies out there, if you haven't gone to a Coffee Break, it's an amazing experience. The women there always leave joyous, and I guess we're just punning this thing away for joy. But it is honestly amazing to see such a strong knitted group of women coming together and finding a way to develop relationships and walk life out together. It's amazing. It's one of the many women in the Word, as well as up to 250 women getting together to read the Bible regularly. It's incredible.
Yeah, but like I said, we see that picture that Matthew describes here in 27 in present day. I mean, the ladies are still just awesome, faithful, continuing to walk it out, continuing to draw near, and they're compassionate and they take care of, you know, the church body, right? You know, it's such a great point, because we could reflect that and we can be encouraged by it. And you're right, like, it would be easy to highlight the men, but if we recall back, it's the men that often stumbles, and we need to come back with a repentant heart and ask for that forgiveness. Peter, this whole study, even though it's Matthew's gospel or Matthew's interpretation of the gospel for us, and the scenes about Peter is just like, okay, that's very relatable. So it's a good reminder, and then one of, like, maybe an application point is to acknowledge those moments, ask for those forgiveness, knowing that we've been forgiven, but making sure, I think, like last week's sermon about the remorsefulness versus repentfulness. So, like, let's move into those spaces of repentfulness or repentance rather than the guilt and the remorse. Yeah,
and I think when I think about that, I think, don't allow myself to have a prideful heart towards my faithfulness and overvalue my faithfulness, but to find ways that I can be asking God to show me how I can truly grow in my faith. Yeah. Right? And allow myself to live that out in a way that I can do that with the hope that I'm leading out for others to see without attempting to try to be seen. Yeah. Right? I want that to be an encouragement, because just my love of God on a day in, day out basis is something that exudes itself, and that it isn't something I'm thinking about or I'm doing, but just that my heart behind what I'm doing is for the Lord to be honored and glorified. Yeah. And not wanting any of that to point back to me, but all of it point to Him.
Less of us, more of Him.
Please.
Yeah. Yeah. And doesn't He deserve it, right?
All of it.
Every name, every knee shall bow, every name above and under, on earth and under the earth will declare Jesus as Lord, right? So Philippians, I butchered that one. So
wait, we've all been there, right? Yeah. There's a Peter moment for you right there.
Right? So I just wanted to set the example that we're not Bible scholars here, but
we don't have to be prideful about it. We can stumble our way into a chat about this.
Just go for it, right? Yeah. It's like
just
right
know
there.
We're trying to say that we love Jesus and we want you to love Jesus. Then we did it. There it is.
There you go.
Nailed it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Mike, thanks. I think we're running out of time. Thanks for the chat. It's good to be back what a great reminder, what a great chapter to just rest and really think about the depth of Christ's love for us. And I'm blessed to again be a part of this church, hear this sermon, and meditate on this week.
Yeah, I hope that those of you at home can just take this week and spend time really sitting in remembrance of what Jesus did that we could not have done, and let that be something that encourages us to walk closer to God, and that lets us walk closer in community with each other, so we can bond together, we can rally together, we can go through ups and downs together, and we can continue to point each other as a community back to Christ.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you next week, Cornerstone family, as we wrap up chapter 27 and get into chapter 28. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for joining us for our leading podcast, and may you be blessed in your doing as you put the Word of God into action this coming week.